Welcome to the Chief Aim podcast. This is your weekly dose of real experiences, insights, strategies, and action steps for entrepreneurs who want to build and are building something incredible. All right, guys, welcome back to the Chief Aim podcast. My name is Jason Graystone.
My name's Seb Bates.
And first of all, Seb, I just got to say thanks to all the listeners and everyone for sharing this, getting it to number one. How cool is that?
Yeah, crazy. I can't believe the response we had. It was amazing to see so many people sending messages as well, just how much they're enjoying the episodes and what value they're getting from it. So yeah, amazing support. Really, really thank you to anyone who rated, reviewed and subscribed to get us to number one on iTunes in several categories. Amazing.
In like 3 days, it was like 30, I know 38 on day 2, I think. And then we went to like 25, 10, 8, 3. And then we hit number one on day 3, which is just amazing.
And just a massive shout out to the Shield team as well for basically making this so seamless for us, right? We basically just rocked up, sat here, had a chat, and the next day woken up to a number one podcast. And we've, some things are really hard in life and some things just flow. And this is one of those things that just flow. The conversations of this podcast, but also the way in which the team at Shield just put it all together and just got it all out there and given us that support to get it across the line to number one as well, which is amazing. Yeah.
And there's a lot to be said for that whole strategy, right? You've had another number one podcast. I've had a number one podcast before this. So it's like, it's not coincidence. There's definitely a way of doing this. And just on a side note, I promote podcasting to anyone starting a business. This is all about business. And I've launched businesses off the back of a podcast, which has just been phenomenal. So highly recommend it. It's a great way to resonate with your audience and build a tribe. So what we're talking about this week, we're carrying on the Versus series, are we?
Yeah, we were only going to do 4 on the Versus, but then things keep popping up, don't they? Maybe it will never end. Maybe
is it going to be me versus you next?
We just changed this to the Versus podcast. Quick rebrand a couple of weeks in. So today is logic versus emotion. And I know that you've got some really interesting points around this for business in particular, which I think is going to be really valuable for a lot of people who are listening.
Yeah, absolutely. So the topic really came about when I guess from what I've developed as a trader and an investor, particularly a trader, but in business as well, you become very logically minded. It's all like, well, if my house burnt down, I'd be like, well, okay, what do we have to do? It's very like logical thinking. It takes a lot to get me emotional these days because of practicing that kind of logical way of thinking, and I see things for what they are. But in business, it can really cause a lot of pain, and I see a lot of examples in business where you take a back step and you think, well, it's no wonder that they're struggling because I can see that they're emotional there, and that's causing this problem in their business. And the first one, and you'll definitely have something to say about this, is becoming attached to the good idea when maybe the numbers don't add up, or the demand isn't there, or the revenue isn't there, or the profit isn't there, and you're getting emotional because you think it's a good idea. I know that we've spoke before about building to demand, but some people just get really caught up in their ego. I don't know what it is, but they kind of get really upset when people don't buy into their idea, right?
It's a classic startup error, right? And it's like, and you can't blame a startup because everything's so exciting around them, right? And for a startup, one of the first things I say with startups is people think that they're chasing more money or they're chasing more freedom, but I think most startups are chasing freedom of creativity. And when you start unpacking the box of freedom and creativity, you start to fall in love with your own ideas, and you start to think, this is amazing. I can't be able to get it out there. It's going to be really popular. Yeah. You start celebrating in your own mind that you've created something unique and perfect before it's even been tested in the market. And the brutal reality for startups is that the market will tell you exactly if your idea is any good or not. It might be great in your mind, but you get feedback from the market, and that is what tells you if your product is going to be popular, or product or service is going to be popular, or actually make any sales and have any traction. And so that's right. You can't rely on the emotion behind your ideas to prove the success of what your concept is, right?
Yeah. And I see it everywhere as well, from like being on sometimes I get involved with startups where I'm just like on a board for a retainer type deal, and I work with them that way. Some I literally get sent a pitch deck to invest into, and 90% of the time, like the founder's always giving it, this is going to be the best X product on the market, we're going to sell. And you're like, well, hang on a minute.
Hold on a second. And to be honest, I don't blame them, right? Because it's exciting. And as a founder, you've got to be your biggest fan. If you're not your biggest fan of yourself, your product, or your service, then no one else is going to be, because it's your job to convince everyone that it's got high value, right? So
Definitely.
So I've got a whole process, because I mentor a lot of startups, about 300 startups a year, and I've got a whole process to help people now get over this hurdle so they can accelerate past it. And I call it the race to Mark IV. And essentially what it is you come up with an idea, Mark I, right? Your idea. And you tell yourself that whatever you come up with isn't going to be perfect. So what you then do is you quickly send it out to market. And then the focus really is to resolve some of the biggest challenges that startups have. They don't have a refined product or service that truly meets the needs of the people they want to serve, first of all. They don't necessarily really understand their target market or who their target market might be. They don't have any social proof. So there's no proof that their product or service actually works, right? So when and also they don't have a very refined product. So the refining of the product so it looks more professional, it's got more inclusions, and it's a full and remarkable solution. So those 4 things. The cool thing about this is it's a race to Mark IV, which means the 4th version, and there are 4 things you're trying to achieve on the way, but there's 4 layers or levels, right? So you send it out to market, and immediately you get your results back. And what you want to do is be very open-minded, not emotional, but think purely logically, and ask for very, very critical feedback. So you're getting critical feedback from the market about what they would change about this, as well as getting testimonials. So every time you do it, you might do it for free or at a low price. You immediately get 1, 2, 3, or 4. I'm releasing a new product. At the moment, I'm doing exactly this, right? Which is character development for corporates and developing high performance teams and stuff and increasing productivity. So we go in, we're doing something for free right now. We get back, 5 testimonials. Now we've got some social proof. We've got feedback. So we're refining our concept. We're changing our concepts so that we can actually improve the inclusions of the service. And now we're refining who our target market is. Did we enjoy working with them? Who would we prefer to work with, right? That's Mark II now produced. So then we send it out to someone else. We might charge a small fee or free again. We go through the process again, get to number 3, Mark III, and then again, and we get to level 4. Once you've got to level 4, you've typically got 20 plus testimonials, or if you're doing it one-on-one, 4 plus testimonials from 4 different clients. You've got a fully refined product or service with the right inclusions, with the right full and remarkable solution. You know your value and what you're worth because you're asking them each time, how much would you pay for this? What would I need to include to make it worth more? Yeah. You're asking that question every time. And finally, you have a really good idea of who you want to work with. So to bypass that whole emotion side of I'm falling in love with my idea, the first thing that a startup should say is, I'm on a race to Mark IV.
This is a quick shout out to the sponsor of this show, Shield, who help us deliver this podcast along with all the social media that goes with it to help us get it out to more people, which leaves us to focus on just creating more great conversations. If you want to start, delegate, or optimize your social media or podcast, or if you want to build your very own online course or program, get in touch with the team at shieldglobal.io. And immediately, just that 4-step process is logic, right? So you're removing emotion by introducing the logical 4-step approach. It's like boundaries and guidelines telling you what to do rather than you basing it off your emotion.
Like you haven't got a product until you got to level 4. You haven't got a product. No. You're a mad scientist coming up with ideas, mixing test tubes, trying to find a solution to a problem that you think you like to solve. But the other thing, and I've spoken to you about this before. You don't find your niche finds you, right? It's like something Yoda would say, but it's so true. It kind of evolves over time, right? And again, people fall in love with the problem they want to solve, and then they realize actually they can't get paid enough when they solve that problem, or they can't, they don't enjoy solving that problem, or there aren't enough people there to solve the problem for. And so it starts to evolve, over time. And I think that's been the case for me, and it certainly has for you as well, I know.
Definitely. And one of the points you made there on that logical process was feedback. So this is where I see another example of logic versus emotion, where people take feedback personally. So remember, you've created a business and a product to serve people. It's not anything personal whatsoever. You're going out to a marketplace trying to serve someone. So when someone comes back and says, well, I don't like this or that, that is in no way a personal attack. That is a prime example of where people get emotional over something and they send a snotty email back or something like that, rather than thinking, wow, that's, what do I like about that? What don't I agree with about that? Even if, and this is a really common one, even if someone says something about your product and in your mind that you're working on that bit and you've got all these plans to improve that bit that hurts when they attack you, right? Don't tell them. Just say, thank you for your feedback. We'll bear that in mind. Don't say, well, actually, we already know that. We're working on that, and screw you. That's not the approach. So that's another really, really common one.
It's a really powerful thing to lean into your pain as a human being is difficult, but it's so powerful, right? It's like, forget business for a second.
It really is.
Forget business for a second, right? Imagine you're having an argument with your wife or your friend or whatever, and you decide to pause and lean into that and think to yourself, what triggered me here? What is it that I'm triggered about? And like I've said to you before, I really believe that all thoughts are there to serve us, both positive and negative. Mm-hmm. They're there to serve us in some way. We just often can't see it in the right context. But the interesting there is, right, if you can have that moment to dive into asking yourself, what is it that's causing me pain here or triggering me? You have the ability to grow much, much faster, right? It's like those things you're taking offense to are things are traits you don't own or love about yourself or insecurities you may have. And your business then also has kind of insecurities, imperfections that you may not see because you're in love with your product or service, but your customers then see because they're going through the customer journey, right? And so by not leaning into that and being defensive and having your emotions, kind of stopping you from getting in there and not thinking logically, right, my job isn't to take everything so personally and, be reactive. My job is to try and improve this product or service. So when you get a negative comment from a customer, that's a perfect golden opportunity because they're giving you a raw insight, typically a raw insight into how you can improve your product or service. For me, that's much more 100%. Valuable than a 5-star review. Someone who's willing to be brutal with you is much more valuable than someone saying great product or service. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I totally 100%. And I always say, there's a lot out there at the moment about don't get around haters and all this kind of stuff. Surround yourself that support your business. First of all, your family and your friends probably won't support your business anyway. It's just the way that humans don't. I don't know why. They just don't. They probably won't even follow your Instagram page. But on top of that, right? Haters are there to do exactly what you just mentioned. They're there to pluck out little things so you can level up because if you're being told you're great all the time and your product's great, well, that's just a false kind of, you're being wrapped in cotton wool. Whereas if someone actually says something, do you know what? That doesn't work properly. Yeah. And it doesn't work properly. It's no longer masked. And now you have to go, do you know what? That hurt because I know I need to level that bit up. I'm going to go and work on that and sort that out. So as you say, it's an improvement feedback mechanism.
But it feels so good to be told that everything is fine and your product's great, your service is great. And it's like, it's like the soothing balm for a startup after all the kind of, after all the ups and downs and the scarcity mindset and the lows that are, and the risk and the imposter syndrome a startup has to go through, right? And then you get to the other side of the desert, and it's like now the next thing you need to do is you need to ask people for critical feedback about how rubbish your product is, and that's the reality that no one wants to do. But it's the quickest
like the final
way.
Boss.
The race to Mark 4. Get involved, get in the trenches, and did you enjoy that? But what was wrong with it? Surely it could be improved. You know what I mean? And then the other thing I found about this, right? Because we made customer service basically a compulsory part of our process at the Warrior Academy. So when someone wants to sign up to us, they have to fill in lots of information which says what they enjoyed, what didn't they enjoy, and all that sort of stuff. Why they didn't enjoy this, and we get that feedback. We average something like 95% customer service score, and we've won international awards against publicly listed companies for our customer service. We were recently in the Golf Customer Experience Awards here in 2023 against 4 or 5 publicly listed companies with 500 plus employees making hundreds of millions of pounds a year, and we beat them. And the reason we beat them is because of this approach that we're talking about right now, right? And we've only got like 50 staff, and we beat them because we really focus on the data, and then we use that data to change what we're doing, and we act very, very fast.
Yeah.
So a customer might just, on a whim, say a little comment to an instructor. That then, or a member of staff, whatever, that then gets filtered into the meeting Monday morning or within 24 hours. By Wednesday, like we've made a fundamental change to our systems and processes across 3 continents to improve what we're doing there, which then impacts 4,000 children straight away within a week. Which is like 6,000 to 8,000 parents around the world having a very different experience because of that one whisper in a corridor about what we could change. And we've, so often I think with with my team as well, they're like, oh, let's focus on the positive stuff. Let's focus on all the good stuff we've done. And I'm like, nah, I'm not interested in that. Tell me all the horrible stuff that's gone on. Tell me about the little niggle or complaint that Mrs. Smith had, so we can just have this obsession behind building this incredibly unique and powerful product, right? Which actually solves problems.
It's all about the product. Like that is it. That's all that matters, because that is if you build a half-assed product to just get it out there and then you just go and spend all your money on Facebook ads, it's going to be very easy for someone to just go and copy your product and make it much better because your focus and attention has gone off of the product and is now on marketing the product. Yeah. Whereas if you just focus on the product, that's very hard to beat, because ultimately that's what's getting people results, and the people become your marketing, and that is logical. That's logical, because remember why you started the business: to make money, to then live a life, to serve more people, and build a legacy or whatever you're doing. But that's ultimately why you're doing it, and that's logical. It's not emotional. So the other point is, and this is such a broad one, which could go into finances and all the rest of it, which is really, really, where you need to be logical, but it's about keeping staff because they're old friends, or they were there from the beginning, or you like them, you've got a soft spot for them, but they're not actually performing, they're not actually hitting the goals and what's required of them, and the requirements of their position in the business, and then that's not contributing to their GDP of the business, if you like, and people cling on to that, right? And they cling on to staff. If the business is going into a dip, they start going, oh, okay, let's just bury my head in the sand and start hoping it will turn around. And before you know it, it's chaos. You've got to let everyone go, rather than just, have conversations with people, logical conversations to say, look, the money isn't there. Yeah. We need you to perform here, or do 2 things. You can either stay or, we'll help you try and get another role somewhere else, but it's not really working out. And again, you started the business to make money and build serve people. It's not there for you to build a little a friend group and just have a laugh and hope the money comes in. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not. You can build a business that way, but you have to get it there first. And
if you want that, it's a luxury, right? And so this is the interesting thing. I mean, a lot of companies out there, they call their team like a family. Your family, you don't just abandon your family if they don't meet targets or meet goals. You can't sack your family. Do you know what I mean? Your family don't really normally quit on the job, or you don't tend to have so many HR issues. Actually, maybe you do. Maybe it depends on the family, right? But I think the way I see it is your customers tend to be a bit like a family, and we talk about our customers like a family because we support them like a family in a very community way. But the team we talk about it as the team. So you've got the Warrior family and you've got the Warrior team. The team is like a high performance Premier League football team, right? And everyone's got to contribute towards this. And if you don't contribute towards it, you can get subbed. And if you get subbed, you may not get a chance to play again until you prove yourself in training, and then you're back in the game, and you've got to really have the ability to trust the people next to you on that team. Otherwise, it doesn't perform. And if it doesn't perform, if 1 or 2 people in the team don't perform and it brings everyone down, then suddenly the team it's not getting to the finals or whatever it is. The rankings are changing, and then everyone on the team suffers. So their salaries go down. That they make less of an impact as a team, and so that's really interesting. But one of the big eye-opening things for me on this was when it comes to culture. And I think there's a there's a virtuous culture that, as you kind of touched on, that a lot of businesses have, right? Where it's like, I've been here the longest, therefore I can't be fired, or I've been here the longest, and therefore my vote matters the most. One of the things that I've always tried to implement is more of a meritocracy, where the best idea wins. And it doesn't matter. It's based on performance. It's based on demonstrated ability. It's based on, a system whereby you've got to be continuously contributing, not just with the kind of day in, day out, clocking in, clocking out and being punctual, but on innovation and on the context of your role. What kind of effort are you putting in to expand your horizons and to move the business forward? And I think that then, when you look at societies, like a meritocracy is typically the best performing society. And so, it evolves the fastest, right? Because the best ideas are pushed to the top. With a virtuous culture, the best ideas can be put down because the guy who's been there the longest, or the girl who's been there the longest, is like, my idea wins because I've been here the longest, right? And then, of course, you've got autocratic, where it's just like the boss says this and that's what happens. And that typically doesn't work as well as meritocracy either.
No. Good point. Great point. I mean, I 100% agree. Best idea wins is always a good way to organize.
No, and that's logic, right?
Exactly.
So
logical. It's not hierarchy.
And look at an autocratic system or a virtuous system. They're more emotional. It's like, I've been here the longest, therefore I've got to have the best idea. No. Logic says best idea wins. Best product in the market wins. That's it.
Absolutely. 100%. All right, the last point I'll make, which I think we could do another whole episode on this, because it kind of comes down to almost like a victim mentality, which is I recently had a couple of experiences where one was on a Facebook group where someone was complaining, I'm reducing my hours, I'm charging a bit more because I started this business to spend more time with my son, and I haven't got more time, so I'm feeling exhausted, so I'm going to cut down my hours, I'm going to charge more money, like it was everyone's problem that she had started a business, right? And I had another one come through, funnily enough, from a completely different company where they're going, I was chasing a delivery, right? And I was just like, any update on when I'm going to receive this thing? And they're like, we're not Amazon. I've got a lot of personal issues, all this kind of stuff. And you think,
oh my days,
wow, it's like we haven't asked you to start the business, right? This is your emotions getting involved, thinking that everyone should love and work around you. No one cares in the marketplace. Right?
Do you know what? I see the same thing with business owners like venting about their customers on Facebook. They'll be like, oh, you wouldn't believe the customer that I had today walking in and trying to buy our product or service, and they were
you've got a customer, well done, congratulations, you've got a customer.
Can you believe that people would moan about their staff publicly or about their customers publicly? And it's just so unprofessional. But where does that come from?
I hate that.
It comes from a victim mindset, right? Where everything is happening to them. It's not like the customer's causing the problem. The staff are causing the problem. It's not them. And herein lies one of the biggest hacks you can have as a human being. Full ownership. Everything is your fault. And do you know what?
I think there's a whole episode on
it. We need a whole episode. Let's just cut it here and just do another episode.
Yeah. I think we should. But I think every week we kind of go through, we kind of bash the problem and then we give some kind of solutions. But I think your 4-step approach there was a real great thing to follow. But
Race to Mark 4.
Race to Mark 4, you just want to be logical. Your business is there to serve for fair exchange. So you want something out of it just as much as they want something out of it, and you owe each other. You should owe each other. It's not this, you're doing it because it's this amazing idea and everyone should buy into it, and you get personal when someone thinks it isn't a good idea.
Yeah.
You need to build something to demand, and then it's effortless. You just go and make the product better and better and better, get the feedback, and everything will work out. It always does when you build it that way. So
and
let us know what you think.
I mean, the other kind of tip I would give alongside that is constantly seek criticism. both in your personal life and your business, until it just becomes normal. And initially, when we were doing this with the business, it was like we would seek criticism and we'd be like, oh my God, why did we ever ask for that? And we have to make 10% changes here or 20% changes here. Yeah. And now that we've had this constant cycle of doing this, it's like 1% change here, 1% change there, right? And it's these little tiny changes. But customers are almost fed up with us from asking, because they're like, that's fine. Don't change anything. It's fine. And we're like, no, we're obsessed with this. This is why we are what we are. So I would say constantly seek criticism. And then the third thing I would say, if we're doing 3 tips then, is I would say, try and distance yourself emotionally. And the way I would do that is try and be very stoic in the way I approach my business, and almost look at it like a third person looking in. If you need to do things like change the business name, on a piece of paper, write down the negative comment, and then you kind of look at it like, how would you as a business owner fix that other business? Whatever it takes for you to kind of distance yourself from the emotion behind improving your business, and ultimately understanding that, you, as a business owner, if you can't hack criticism, your business is completely limited, right? And that goes for growing it and being, through innovation and improving it, but also goes as far as trolls, right? Like if you want to have 1 million subscribers on YouTube or something, get ready for hundreds of horrible comments. Do you know what I mean? Get ready for everyone to hate you, because only about 20% of people out there are going to like you. And out of that, 5% are going to be your customers or whatever, right? And the reality is, I think if you I kind of approach it like, I don't expect anyone to like me, and I don't really care. I believe in what I'm talking about. I know that it's going to help people. And so my approach there is, I'm not seeking validation or seeking, acceptance or even nice words anymore. I'm just doing my thing, right? And for a lot of people, they're not going to enjoy it, and they're going to come up with whatever they want to say. And I think that if you want to have that big business, or you want to have that big following, or you want to make an impact, it comes with all the negative stuff. Like there is a side of it you just got to accept. And so if you're not willing to accept that, don't build it. Do something else.
No.
Live a smaller life,
Exactly. And if you really, really want a logical framework to think of your business as, where things might not work or you need to improve on separate things, break out a business into these things. Traffic, which is either paid or organic, the opt-in rate between your traffic and your leads, and then the conversion rate between your leads and sales, and then your upsells and how much you're able to upsell people to other products, and then the expenses in the business. And if you break them down into those things, you've got very logical steps to go and work on and tweak and improve and ask for feedback on. Why didn't you opt in? Why didn't you convert when I did the thing? What's happening with the organic social over the paid social, and so on and so on. And it's very, very logical when you do it that way, because you've just got a few steps to just go and optimize. So I think we'll leave it there. And I think I can feel a victim mindset.
Victim mindset. So. We need to find a versus though, really, at this stage. Victim versus warrior mindset.
Well, let us know in the comments what you think, and let us know in the comments if you have experienced any of these, or if you've got any other tips to share with the Chief Aim community. So until next week, or next episode, I should say, thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you then. If you're enjoying these podcasts, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're really getting value from these, we'd really love it if you could let us know on our review page. We'll see you next week.